hanging out, having fun. But yeah, like I said, our channel here, Everyday Astronaut, is mostly focused on space flight and rocket launches. So normally we're talking about how do rockets work. Things like why don't rocket engines melt? How do you start a rocket engine? What powers a rocket engine? Things like why don't they launch rockets from mountaintops or from underneath jets? Why do they always make these huge, massive rockets? If you've ever asked those types of questions, make sure you're subscribed and look around on the channel. We do really in-depth videos. Different than what we're doing today is quite different for us. But we're really good friends with the people at the Planetary Society. They've been great friends for us and have helped us even with some Starship stuff too as well. So it's been fun to partner on this with them together. But like I said, this is a little bit out of my personal wheelhouse, but this is one of those things that it makes me happy to be here with you guys and happy to be able to bring this. Because I know not everyone is able to travel, even, my friends and family and stuff. A lot of them had work and things and weren't able to, make it across the country in our case. And the United States is a big country too. Texas is as big as many countries around the world. So if you're tuning in from around the world, hi and welcome and thank you for joining us. It's just getting started. It is just getting started. So like we said, the time when we're actually only 1 hour and 10 minutes away from totality. So we will just continue to watch Pac-Man continue to become more Pac-Man as the moon just continues to further and further eclipse the sun. Now hopefully we don't totally lose it. This is what scares me is you can see obviously right now we've got it nice and we've got a good image of it, but when it goes totally dark like that from the cloud coverage, it might be a little bit harder for us to track, because that's the other thing. These scopes were constantly dialing in the rates of how quickly they're moving and just trying to make sure that we're perfectly on track. So there should be pretty well dialed in. We're not using, so if we had used like a typical telescope, we probably could have just said, aim it here, and the scope would be smart enough to just stay on track, regardless if there's any clouds in the sky or not. But we're doing this with like I said, with our rocket tracker. Faintly. Our monitor is so dark out here. We need a better outdoor monitor. But yeah, we've got our scopes out there. We're tracking it, and yeah, it's a pretty incredible image already. That even though we're just beyond first contact here about 10 minutes ago now, it's starting to really dig into that sun.
But we haven't started to sort of experience it yet here on the ground. We're going to have to get quite a bit further over and lose a lot more of the sunlight before we start feeling the effects. Temperature dropping, darkness emerging.
Yeah.
Maybe sounds changing. Maybe birds flying. There could be all kinds of different effects that I'm encouraging people to experience.
Yes, and that's the thing that we've been talking about this on air quite a bit, is that it is a big difference between the partial eclipse and a total. It's almost like a snap, right? When it does happen, it's like
it's a factor of a million difference. It's a million times better in totality. It literally is, because it's like a million times fainter. The sun is there. Even the last little bit of sunlight you have is really bright. And so you cannot appreciate it, totality, unless you are in the path of totality.
That is
so you still have a little bit of time. If you think you're at the 90% and that's good enough, get in your car and drive.
I know. So I saw that on social media quite a bit. People saying like, oh, I'll just enjoy it. I saw someone say I'm 20 minutes from the path of totality. I'm close enough. And I'm like, no, please. Like, you don't understand that difference is almost inexcusable. Like, get on a bike if you need to and bike those 20 miles. Get inside the path of totality.
Like I said, it's a factor of 1,000,000 times better if you're in the path of totality. Even if you just are right inside the path and only get it for like 15 seconds, it'll be worth that 15 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's clear sky. So we've been saving up some questions for people that know, because I am no astronomer. I am a rocket guy. So for me, this is all these questions. I'm like, I don't think I know even what that is. And one of them that I wanted to ask you about, somebody asked about, what was it? The Bailey's beads.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
So the sun's surface is not uniform. It has texture to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the edge of the sun, it looks sharp in these pictures and people are looking. But in fact, it is not sharp. It is textured. And so when the moon is moving and is near totality and there's just the tiniest sliver of the sun left, there are places where the sun's outer atmosphere is a little higher and a little lower. And the places where it's a little higher, it'll stick out beyond the edge. So you'll have this effect of bright spots along the edge. And those are called Bailey's beads. And you honestly, if you're seeing Bailey's beads, you better have your eclipse glasses on because that's still the sun.
Yeah.
And after Bailey's beads, there is sometimes a moment where there's just exactly one piece of the sun left. And that's called the diamond ring.
Yeah.
Because it's just like a bright, sparkling diamond with a sort of a ghostly ring of the corona, the extended outer atmosphere. So if you're lucky enough to see that diamond ring, make sure your glasses are on for it. But then when the diamond winks out, that's when you can take your glasses off.
Wow. And what science can we actually do here on Earth that matters in the grand scheme of things? Because people think, well, it's just night.
Marsha, welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Kyle.
First of all, weather is on everybody's minds today. We've certainly had major shifts even just this morning to now here in where we are in Texas. So tell us, what is the most up-to-date forecast across the path of totality at the moment?
Well, everything's looking good so far in Mexico. Texas is socked in, although that's changing in places like right here. I'm seeing more blue sky. It looks like Arkansas is got a really good clear sky right now. Clouds up as it heads up toward Lake Erie, northern New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine looking really good in Canada. So
welcome back here in Mesquite, Texas. Joining me now to dive into Solar Eclipse 101 is Leslie Barnhill, science educator at the Mesquite Planetarium. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. So tell us at first, about the 4 phases of the eclipse. What are people looking forward to? What can they pay attention to?
Okay. Well, there are 4 to 5 phases of the eclipse. We actually call them contact.
welcome, Julie.
Hi, thank you.
So why don't you show us a little bit of the demos that people can do at home?
Okay, so one of the fun things, if you happen to be able to stand under a tree, you can look through the branches and you'll see the shadow and the different phases of the eclipse through the branches. So that's an easy one, and we're lucky enough that the sun is coming out. One of the other things that we've put together is a punch card, and you can hold it with the sun at your back on a shadow, and you can see the phases of the eclipse. Even though you see a square, a circle, and a triangle, when the sun is actually shining through it with the phases, you'll see the phases on the ground or even on your hand. So it's really neat to see the different phases through that.
So these are really handy, especially for young kids who, can't really wear the glasses perfectly on their faces, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the main things if you don't want to look into the sun. So even most houses have a colander, so you can even show a colander on the ground, again with the sun at your back, and you can see the phases through the holes in the colander. So one of the fun things that we've been doing at our booth is actually making a pinhole viewer, and it's super simple with cardboard, foil. So you cut the view part of it and you fold the foil over it. This is so easy. And then you take a toothpick.
It's live TV, folks.
And then you just poke a hole in through the foil.
Just a small hole.
A round hole, and again you'll see the shadow of the eclipse on the paper, on the cardboard.
That's fantastic. What are things that this is one of my favorite activities, like looking at the shadows. What gadgets at home can people pull out of their kitchen or anything else?
So a cereal box, you can make a pinhole viewer out of a cereal box. I actually pulled this one off my refrigerator this morning. So and again, you do it the same way with poking a hole in it and holding it up to the sun so you can see the shadow on the ground. We've got the tree branches is a good one, and the colander is an easy one to pull out of your kitchen.
Hey, how are you feeling about the weather here in Texas today?
I am so excited that the sun is coming out. It's a little bit humid, but we're used to that in Texas. We have every little, phase of the weather, but the sun is out, so people are starting to look up. It's really fun to see the different faces already.
And as an educator, how are you feeling about people's reactions to the eclipse, to the science, to the things that they can do?
It's been really fun. We've been talking about how the animals are going to react, and is it safe to leave your dogs outside, and how the birds are going to quit chirping because they think it's nighttime. And so it's been fun to Google and research some of that.
What has been the biggest question people typically ask of you?
A lot of them are, why can't I just look up at the sun? Why can't they, and so you get a sunburn if you sit out in the sun too long. So imagine looking directly at the sun with your eyes and the damage that it can do to your retinas. And it's not even something that you'll notice right away. It may be something that you notice a day or two later that you sunburn your eyes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for joining us. We really appreciate it. And now I think we're going to throw it back to the views in Mazatlan and maybe elsewhere around the country.
quá tuyệt vời. Cảm nhận thật còn bằng tại bậc Mỹ Mexico ngày 9 tháng 4 2020. Các bạn thấy bầu trời buổi sáng sáng thì đột nhiên vừa rồi mặt trăng đã che khuất mặt trời và tạo nên một bầu trời tối sầm lại tại Mexico.
Segundos para el fin de la totalidad. Hay que dejar de mirar. Cuando yo les dé la señal. tener el fenómeno inverso. La luna se va a ir retirando hasta que a las 12:32 volvamos a tener el mismo sol de todos los días, el eclipse haya terminado y tengamos que esperar otros 3 siglos para volver a presenciar esto. Muchas gracias a todos.
Ở Việt Nam này thì mình cũng đã trải qua, mình đã xem được 2-3 lần một năm. Nhưng mà nếu mà nó tối sầm giống như ở Mexico thì chưa có cơ xem được. Nó chỉ tối sơ sơ.
All right. Oh my gosh, folks, have you seen that? Did you see, the eclipse touching down on Mazatlan all day today, this morning? Just the earliest forecasts were cloudy and potentially rainy, and just then you could see just how quickly the weather changes, just in time for that moment of totality. And even after totality, that moment when the diamond effect came in through, the Bailey's beads were peeking through, like, it just is so exciting, and I am living vicariously through them right now as the clouds start to cast a shadow on us instead of the moon. But you know what? There's just so much more excitement to be had, because we're gonna head over to Carbondale, Illinois. Again, the weather's been so changeable throughout the path of totality, but sometimes, look, you just never know, right? Total solar eclipses happen every few years or so, especially like where, it's usually on somewhere else like the South Pacific. So this is a really special thing that we are hitting so many people around this North America, this continent. So you know what? We're gonna head over to hear more from a citizen scientist setting up their solar eclipse experiments out in Carbondale, Illinois. Let's take a look.
Mặt trăng đã không cùng lúc mặt trời nữa, và mặt trăng và người dân Mexico đang rất vui mừng để đón được ánh sáng.
Eclipse Broadcasting Initiative, and it's a joint venture between NASA and Southern Illinois University here in Carbondale, Illinois.
What is your role in the study? What are you doing as a citizen scientist?
Well, you said it. I'm a citizen scientist. I was recruited. I'm an alumni here from Southern Illinois University, and they contacted me prior to the annular eclipse, which we had last October, and asked me to record that from my home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I kept the equipment, and then they asked if I might join them here in Carbondale. So I drove 2.5 days from Santa Fe and ended up here with all of this gear that you see in front of me to capture data of the solar eclipse that's happening today.
Your background is in the motion picture industry. You do not have a background as a scientist. How did you end up doing this?
That's correct. I worked in the motion picture business for about 25 years, and so I know cameras, but I don't know telescopes. So when they sent all of this to me, I had never operated a telescope. I had never operated a mount like this. Certainly I've used a computer, but all of the software was new to me as well. So there was a bit of a learning curve. However, I think that my experience, and boy, the crowd is really getting into it right now. I hope you can hear me. There's a countdown going on. But all of my experience in the movie business did help, and it prepared me to really figure out how to work this gear and get the data that NASA needed.
What is it about your experience capturing the annular eclipse in October that caught your imagination and made you want to continue?
Well, it really was something else. I didn't know what to expect. I had never been through a total eclipse, totality, or annular. Annular, of course, is when the moon only covers a portion of the sun, not quite the entirety of the disk. And it still was a very interesting, some people say it's a magical time. The sky gets dark, obviously, but there in Santa Fe, a breeze came up. It got remarkably cooler. I had to put on a sweater. It was October anyway, but still, when the sun was covered up, it's amazing how much energy we lose here on the Earth when it's darkened like that. And we saw the effect of that. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing that here when the entire disk is obscured by the moon. This should be really cool to see in another half an hour, 45 minutes from now.
What exactly are you doing here? You're on the football sidelines. You got a bunch of cameras and telescopes. What exactly are you measuring?
Well, NASA's going to have to tell me what they're using my data for. I really don't quite know what they're doing with the special files that I'm capturing using this material here, this small telescope. There's a mono camera here that records in black and white. I do have my other gear here, my DSLR over here. I've got one behind me that's shooting a wide angle. I've got the stadium in the background for that, and I'm capturing different phases of the eclipse as it happens to that camera. So when I get home, I'm going to take my images here and from the other camera, and I'm going to put them through Photoshop, and I'm going to make a nice collage of that. And in addition to that, I'm going to download the data for NASA, send it back here to Bob Baer at SIU, who's overseeing the project for the university, and I'm going to have to rely on them to tell me what they find in the data that I collect. I'm not that smart.
What do you expect to experience during totality? I mean, this is new for all of us.
Yeah, it really is. I know it's going to get cold. I hope I can see my equipment to be able to operate it, because it's going to get very, very dark very quickly. For 4 minutes, we're going to be experiencing that. I hope that we can hear the environment around us. I hope that we can hear the birds come out and start chirping and behaving differently. That happened when I was in Santa Fe with the annular eclipse a little bit. So I'm expecting more of that, only amped up because of the totality event today.
Great, thank you so much, Robert Dennis, and let's enjoy some more pictures from the eclipse.
Very good, thank you.
Everyone, we're excited to be joined by Javen Gonzalez, Mesquite representative, to tell us a bit about how things are feeling here in Texas. Javen, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about Mesquite, Texas.
So in Mesquite, we're known as the rodeo capital of Texas, so we sit just right outside of Dallas.
And how has being on the path of totality affected the community, local businesses? What were you feeling here?
So there's a lot of energy here in Mesquite, just from like a lot of local businesses, the volunteers downtown. They were really excited. We started planning for this a year ago, so we felt like the community is really well prepared for what's happening and all the visitors that we have.
And Mesquite and many other communities along the path of totality hosted full weekend-long eclipse festivities, and you guys were among those. How did you roll out the red carpet for, the local folks and the visitors?
Sure, so we actually kicked it off in the most Mesquite way we could. So it's the 66th annual rodeo parade happened here in Mesquite. We have it every year, but this year it was solar.
Dùng cái kính là che lại để xem từ cái lúc này nó chặn cái che để mình chơi thì cái độ sáng nó thấp nên là người ta phải đổi ống kính khác. Sau khi mà bây giờ nó hở ra một xíu rồi sáng rồi qua nó mạnh nên người ta phải dùng cái kính che nó đi.
Mexico, several different states. So I just talked to some people from California and Arizona, so all over the place.
That's fantastic. So I've heard, like you said, that Mesquite is really well known for the rodeo. I'm wondering, how are you hoping to keep the momentum up, the energy, and the excitement up after the eclipse?
Well, and one of the reasons why we called our eclipse weekend the solar rodeo was to kind of go back into that, because we want this to have a positive impact on our community, not just for
like that?
Yeah, so we've been working with our local school district here since the very beginning. One of our big partners on this. So they have prepared all schools, all staff, students will have classes for today. They have lesson plans ready for today, and so all the kids are going out and observing. I'm sure they're out right now taking a look.
Were the schools closed today? It's Monday, or were they going on?
Schools are in session. Yeah, schools are